So
So,
I'll continue. So when you arrive in
I'm
Bali
drinking a beer.
at the
All
airport,
good.
we are on the northeast coast of Bali. So we are about 3 hours drive from the airport.
Off Gassing, a scuba podcast with host Nick Hogel. On this week's episode, we interview Kira and Serge, owners and founders of Jepun Divers in Amed Bali. As soon as you step foot in Jepun Divers, you are overcome with a feeling of welcomeness. A place to hang out and grab a beer with some new friends or meet up with some old ones. From their first breaths underwater to the rocky road of opening up a dive shop, Jepun is a true family-owned, family-operated dive shop. After meeting Kira and Serge, I wanted to share their story. I hope you enjoy. Serge, Kira, how are you doing today?
We're good.
Good, thank
Good.
you.
So, I just wanted to ask you guys and hear the story a little bit about Jepun Divers, but I guess first of all, I would just like to hear how you got into diving. So, whoever wants to start, let's hear about it. Tell me about your first breath underwater.
Do you want to go first? 'Cause
Sure.
You started.
Okay, so I did a certification dive when I was 16 in Florida. Yeah, it just happened because my parents had a house in Florida,
Okay.
Keys.
What part of the Keys?
It was Key Largo.
Oh, cool.
So in Key Largo's, and it was something to do when I was there. It was fantastic, loved it. But then life got in the way, and I didn't really do much diving afterwards. Then I was 29 years old. I was in Thailand. Met some divers that were interesting guys. I was doing some rock climbing, and it happened that I kind of got stuck in Thailand.
Were you just backpacking through, or?
Yeah, I was sort of backpacking through New Zealand, then did a stop over in Singapore and realized Singapore was very expensive and ended up decided to spend some time in Thailand and got stuck in Thailand because I got an infection in my knee and my flight I lost my flight. I couldn't make it to back to Singapore on time. And then rock climbing was fantastic. It was nice when I was there, but then it was really hot and really diving was very appealing.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I got an offer to work with some dive shops to do some selling.
Okay.
And as I did some sales, I did my courses to become a dive master.
Okay. What part were you rock climbing in Thailand? I know Krabi's pretty big.
I was on Koh Phi Phi.
Okay.
So we were on Koh Phi Phi then, and that's how it all started again. And then I did my dive master certification after the advanced rescue, and then worked for quite a few months, maybe even a year. Then went back home, and then afterwards it was a recurring 6 months a year coming back to Thailand to do some diving and enjoy. That's how it started.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't just like I'm going for this. It just kind of happened.
It just kind of fell into place. Like I was out there, diving was there, and I sort of got back into it after so many years.
Okay.
It was never the plan, but it was really nice that it happened that way.
Cool. So did you become an instructor, or were you just a dive master for a while?
I did about, if I'm not mistaken, about 7 seasons of dive mastering.
Oh, okay.
I was not really interested in becoming an instructor at the time because I was constantly going back home after 6 months, working back home, making decent money, and then coming back for 6 months and just wanted to enjoy diving.
Okay.
And enjoy taking people underwater and getting to, dive with the whale shark and dive with the interesting marine life. And as for an instructor, well, you often are doing other
Yeah.
aspect of diving, which is being in confine or in pools. And at the time, I just wanted to guide.
Yeah. So real quick, where is back home?
I was born in Labrador. Quebec is where my family is from.
Okay.
So I'm French Canadian, but I also moved to British Columbia when I was 19.
Oh,
I
okay.
lived in British Columbia most of my adult life.
Okay. So you were on the Montreal kind of side, the East Coast?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So actually, I grew up in New Hampshire.
Oh,
So I
nice.
spent some time there, and I would have friends, before the age of 21 going up to Canada so they could have some drinks and stuff. But I actually never made it out there. Kind of a bummer. Probably a blessing in disguise. I probably would have gotten too much trouble or something.
Maybe.
Yeah. Kira, what about you? Tell me about your how'd you get into diving, first breath underwater?
Well, it was a bit of a coincidence, I would say.
Okay.
It was not something I had dreamt about my whole life. Like, oh, I want to go scuba diving. It was just in 2013,
Okay.
summer 13. I was doing a trip out here to Bali with my friend. And her boyfriend at the time, he had told about Amed, told about the gillies. We didn't know anything about this area.
Yeah.
So we were just kind of taking advice from them, what we should do here. And we actually we booked a course already from home. No idea. I've never heard about like scuba diving. I didn't have any friends that did it. We actually booked a course, course and accommodation at a different part of Gili in the north. And then just, I think a week before, we realized, this might be like a little bit out from the center of Gili. Let's change location. So we ended up rescheduling and then booking where Serge was working.
Oh, okay.
So that's actually where we met. And so we might have never met if we had stayed at the original. So we went out here, did our trip, and then this was one of the last stop. I think we just had Gili and then back to Bali for a few days and then going back home. So I just did my open water course with my friend there, and I just loved it.
Cool.
Right away.
I can understand. I can understand.
I loved it so much, so I went back home, thought I
And
need to go
home
back.
is
Home is Denmark.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Copenhagen, Denmark.
Okay.
So I went back home, and then I was already thinking, I need to go back. I think I just fell also in love with this lifestyle and meeting all these people that were living like this, and this was their job, and I thought, wow, this is pretty cool. So I booked a flight 3 weeks later. And then I had a friend, she was going to visit her boyfriend in Singapore. And I thought, let's just, let's go together. And then you can come out to Gili also for a visit. And so 3 weeks later, I went back here from Denmark for, I think, only 10 days. So it's a pretty long trip for a short time here.
Yeah.
And then I did my advanced. And then I think I was just hooked from there.
Yeah, no, I can understand.
Yeah.
I can understand. I mean, my girlfriend, as you well know, Becca, just did her open water, kind of the same story.
Exactly.
I think we had 3 weeks later, she booked a trip back out here.
Yes.
We were quite surprised.
You're like, we were there.
That's awesome.
I don't know if you remember. It's like, yeah, of course you were there. You were literally here like last month.
So my plan is slowly working out because now she's becoming a diver and we can go down that path.
Yes,
No,
it's
yes.
nice to have this together.
Well, I guess I don't know if I asked yet, but how did you become an instructor, Serge? Like so you were in PP, but then you ended up out here teaching?
So on CoPP, after a few seasons, like 7 seasons, I decided that I was not going to go back to Canada. I really wanted to stay. And then therefore to stay, you sort of have to become an instructor. You can't rely on dive master for work as the salary is a lot lower. So the plan was to become an instructor, but then I also got at the same time pushed in the position of instructor from the manager of the dive center, who basically just presented me a course director and said, "Hey, this is Richie, course director. He will be your course director. He will be starting your IDC in 2 days."
Oh, okay.
And I was like, "Whoa!" And he said, he already had paid for it, and he said, "You'll just, we'll take it off your salary afterwards." And he just pushed me into the dive instructor position because he wanted to have me as a dive instructor, and which was a great decision. I was a little nervous to become an instructor, like everyone, I think.
Yeah,
We're all a bit nervous at the beginning, but it was a great thing to do. I've never looked back afterwards. Worked for a few seasons for the dive center in Koh Phi Phi, and then then I worked in Gili Island, and then
That's where we met.
That's where we met. Yeah. And then
You were going back to Koh Phi Phi after the season there, because it's the opposite seasons, and then I was going back home, and then I had actually, Serge doesn't believe me, but we actually had this trip planned already to Thailand. My mom, my brother, and me. Like, I didn't plan it to go visit him. He was like, "Are you following me around the world?" No, we had already booked this trip, and we had booked the islands, and Koh Phi Phi was one of them. So we were going out there in January, the summer, or the following winter, where we met in August, I think.
Okay.
And so we met up again in Koh Phi Phi.
Okay. Okay.
yes,
And then I
Happy
think
times.
I started my rescue course. I was just like, I just wanted to do all the courses and keep diving.
and you wanted to come back and live in Asia and finish your thesis and
Yeah, I was
just
at the time I was doing my thesis for my master.
Okay.
I kind of knew that I wanted to travel after, for a while at least. And then, meeting people, talking to them how they were doing it or how they got into this, how they decided to move abroad, or I met some people. They were like, "Yeah, we sold all our stuff back home, our apartments, and then we just kept for a down payment in case we changed our mind," and then did it. And I was like, oh yeah, that's a plan. So I went back, and I tried to finish some of it in Koh Phi Phi. I brought it with me. I had a partner, but she was also traveling a lot, so we would kind of meet up and then travel out and work and then meet up again and put it back together.
Okay.
And so I brought it out there and thought, I can just dive in the morning and then work in the afternoon. But I realized pretty quickly that that's not.
it's quite hard.
That's hard. Like, stay for a beer. Okay, just one. And then, so I was out there diving for a bit, and then I went back to Denmark for 2 months to finish up and do my final exam. I decided to sell my apartment. So while I was in Thailand, the realtor called and he was like, "Oh, we found someone. Do you want to sell it?" I was there in Thailand, like, yes, sure.
Like,
just
why not?
Sell it and then we'll go from there. Yeah, so went back home, finished, and then bought a one-way ticket.
Oh, that's an amazing story. I love it. I love it.
Yeah. Came to PP. We
we
worked for a
met.
little while.
We stayed in Thailand for the year out there until the following 2015.
Okay.
Where we moved here in April.
Oh, okay. So I'm trying to think, because I know we talked about it. Was that yesterday? And so the first time I actually went diving was in Koh Phi Phi.
Yes.
And
you said that.
Small
That's
world.
amazing.
Yeah,
Small
and
world.
With someone we know.
yeah, I know, that was so random, because I was like, oh, this guy Ian, and someone's like, oh, he was here 2 weeks ago, and yeah, super small world. So Ian, you definitely changed my life, buddy.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But yeah, really, the scuba diving world is so small when you start to think about it, just
It really
because
is.
it's just super random that the guy
Amazingly
that
small.
yeah. So you made it out here, and tell me about Jepun Divers. How did this all come about?
First, the plan was to come and open a dive center in Bali, but mostly within Tulamben area. Correct?
But yeah, to be honest, I don't even really remember when we were still in Thailand and we decided we'll do this season here and then it's time to move on or move to a place where we could make it a little bit more of a home or long term, because for you had stayed many years, but it's
Yes.
as a
It
couple
was time to
also,
leave
it's like a party island,
the island life.
you know,
It was time to
and
leave this very clustered, how you say this, the packed island, like where
Yeah.
you can't
It's-
escape.
Island fever.
Yeah,
Little
you
bit
can't
island
escape the crowds. So we really wanted to have a place where we could be comfortable living, be able to have mountains, ocean nearby, where we were not too far from the main city or the main town.
yeah.
You know, you didn't want to be on an island 2 days away from any civilization. And to us, Amed Tulamben felt like a great place to come
Yeah.
and
We knew
do
a
this.
bit about it, but not like we didn't know diving here. We never went diving here when we moved
Oh,
here.
okay. So, but you'd known about Ahmed because when we came last month, that was actually the first time I'd been to Ahmed. So
Yeah.
it's a beautiful place. Definitely not a bad place to lay some roots. What was the final decision on Ahmed's the place to go?
First, I think what we did is came here and we dive and dive and dive and dive and looked around at different plots of land and different options for business.
Yeah. But we actually, like you said, we thought we wanted to be in Tulamben.
Yes.
Because even back then, it felt like Ahmed was already very busy compared to Tulamben.
Okay.
We thought maybe there's too many dive centers here already. So we stayed in Tulamben for a week and looked around in that area first for land.
Yes.
And then after a week, we already felt, oh, Tulamben, it's nice, but there's no real like atmosphere so much. It's mostly resort, you know, so at nighttime, there's
Okay.
not so much going on there. So then we decided to come and stay here in Amed while we were still looking around.
Okay.
And diving and exploring.
And checking out all the dive sites. And then we stayed actually where we are now.
Oh,
Our
okay.
shop is now. This is the bungalow that we turned into our bedroom. That's the one we rented for a month. We were like, can you rent monthly here? And then we got this for a month. And we looked around, like we looked at lots of places, talked to people. We didn't know anyone here, so it was also about where do we start? Like
Yeah.
the owner of the place, he kept asking us, oh, what are you doing here? We're just looking for a place maybe to see if we can start something. And he suggested, like, why don't you make a little shop here? And then there were at the time 5 bungalows in the back. And he said, I will renovate the bungalows so there's room and then we can work together and you have a place for your guests. And we were like, oh, it's not what we had imagined first. We thought, but then we were like, oh, maybe it's smart to start small and see if it works. And then, that's actually how we ended up where we are.
Okay.
now. Yeah.
So, logistically, how hard is it for someone? Was there some challenges in
Oh,
start?
boy.
How long time do you
Did
have?
I just open a can of worms?
Yes.
Boy. Yeah, that was the nice, easy version
Yes.
that you just put.
No, that was
on
just
the
more
table.
how we ended up in Amed
Yes.
rather than Tulamben. That was our original.
Yeah, I mean,
Plan.
of course, there was hurdles along the way. There was, I think, many. We were quite naive at first. We
Yeah.
didn't really.
We didn't know how anything worked here. We
no,
didn't
so-
know anyone at
We had ideas that if you'd hire a
agent.
agent, they would know what is needed.
They could guide you.
Yeah.
Guide you through the hurdles. But really, what happens is they just often say yes, they can do
We were
services
just a
for
bit
you.
unlucky.
Often, just skip some parts of the requirements for permits, and I mean, how do you go? How do we explain this?
It's such
There was a
long
lot of ups
story,
and
yeah.
downs. There was a lot of things we did that we had to redo, like the land where we were at first. The deal we had with the person with the bungalows fell through because he never really followed through his promises.
He
kinda-
took a loan, and then there was supposed to be like to fix up the bungalows, make a business that would make him an income, and then we kept asking him, when are you starting? Because we already started building the
Oh,
shop,
okay.
and we were like, when are you starting fixing up the bungalow? He came with one new car after the other, and we were like, oh, we started to see like the money kind of going other
money, yeah,
places.
yeah.
So I think after a while we were already starting to be a bit skeptical if this were gonna happen. That's a bit later in
Yeah.
the story actually. The
Yes.
first part is still with the agents there. We were unlucky, so we chose basically the first notary agency, one of that we talked to in the south. They seem very nice, legit.
Yeah,
They
very
seem
nice. Yeah.
professional, We went into
Good
their
talker,
office, had a good talk to them, and they said they had experience with dive centers, so they knew what permits you needed and
Yeah.
all this. So we decided to go with them because they spoke well English, so we had no communication issues. Then they started all the paper process, and we were just unlucky that this company actually turned out that they had screwed over a lot of
There
their
was a
like
lot of
all their
history,
clients
yeah.
basically.
Oh,
So they
okay.
would collect all the money for. There's like, we can provide your key task, we can make everything ready for you, and we were paying a lot up front, and then it turned out that they were actually not doing these things. It's such a
I mean, that's a big.
I don't know
Big
to do
story.
it short as possible.
Needless to say, there were some
After-
ups and downs.
After a
Yes.
few ups and downs, we got back on track with helps of lawyers.
Yeah, we changed.
That really helped us to really get the right permits
Yes.
from
Okay.
every regions and all the documents inlined, and we also ended up buying the land
Awesome.
off the owner who fell through his deal. He actually went bankrupt, and so we took the land.
Yeah.
The business bought the land,
Cool. Cool.
our PMA, and then now we're sitting on a nice plot
Yeah.
of land.
I'm happy
We
with
have
it.
a nice little dive center. After 8 years, there's been ups and downs with volcano eruption. There's been earthquake. There's
a
there's
little pandemic.
the pandemic was definitely the biggest hurdle, I think, that we encounter. But all said and done, we're quite happy that we took the plunge.
Yeah.
Knowing what we know now, perhaps we would have think differently.
I don't know, because you
But, I
can
mean,
always say that afterwards,
you know-
right?
Yeah.
If you
You-
know what I know now, I would have maybe done but I think we learned so much
We learned
along
so
the
much,
way.
and
Like
it
we've
was-
been through the whole system from,
Yeah.
agents to lawyers to immigration to everything.
So there's a big
So-
learning curve.
Yes.
Yes. So knowing what we know now, we would have been
Easier maybe.
for sure easier. But we were, yeah. So I think it helps not knowing, because then you
Yes.
just do the plunge.
If
Yeah.
I had
You know?
known what we know now, I would maybe have been like, yeah, let's just do something else maybe.
Yeah.
But now we went through it and it's
Yes.
done,
Yeah.
and we're set.
Yes.
And it's things are working well, and
No, yeah.
so it's good.
All
Yeah.
right. Well,
yeah.
let's talk on the bright side of things, Jepun Divers. So, how did you come up with the name? I know it's actually, I'm not gonna lie, I don't know what Jepun means. I know it's a common, I've heard or seen it around, I want to say. So how did that all come about?
It was actually because the bungalows that were at the property when we got here, they were called Puri Jepun Hill.
Okay.
And since the plan was that we were working together, we had talked about names, but we didn't have one name that we really loved and we wanted it to be. So we thought it's nice if we have a name that is connected,
Yeah.
and we make it a like kind of one unit with the rooms and the dive shop. And then
And Jepun means
Jepun is the
frangipani
flower that they use, you know, for
Oh.
the ceremonies. Also, it's kind
Oh.
of the symbol.
Okay.
We thought, or we feel that it's like the symbol of Bali, like the flower of Bali.
Okay.
We use it for ceremonies. It's
incense
they say it's like
oils,
it has a nice meaning to it.
Okay. Okay.
So we
you see
we
it all
liked-
around
Yeah.
the area too. Many trees or Jepun trees, you know, around us as we speak now.
Yeah.
We have Jepun trees.
Yes,
So that was
that's how it ended
the
up.
reason why we took
Okay.
the Jepun Divers.
Awesome. So I absolutely love the shop. When I first
Thank
walked
you.
in there, it's a very, very easy place to hang out. Almost too easy. Like I just want to walk in there and just grab a beer and start hanging out.
That's the point. That's what we
And
want people
that's
to
what we're trying to
feel.
do.
Yeah,
Yes.
and so I wanted, you know, to hear. So I'm a new diver, or I'm a non-diver looking to dive. Why Jepun? Like why would we want to go there? I know why, but let's, you know, tell the listeners out there about a little bit more about Jepun.
I think, without saying anything about any other dive centers, because they're all great in a way, but when we got here, exactly what you say, like when you come in and you feel like you want to hang out and stay there. Back then, it was a bit more, our experience, we feel like it was a bit more like booking offices here
Yeah.
for diving.
Okay.
And not so much, and we were used to coming from shops where you would hang out
The
after diving
atmosphere
all
was
day,
very
and it was, and we
family,
thought it was
like-
missing a little bit here. It was more like you book your dive, you go diving, and then you go home.
Okay.
So that's actually also why we thought, okay, maybe there's room for something a little bit different.
Yeah, because we wanted to
And-
create a place that was nice to
Inviting.
hang out. People would want to stay after diving and share stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Meet new people, get connections. So that's what we did.
Yeah.
Cool.
We created a place that people tend to, when they come upstairs to inquire information, they tend to want to stay for a little while, have a coffee, and they feel at home. They feel not pressured into signing anything, but they feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah, we want people to have the whole experience. It's not just about diving or you're just a number in the whole. We want it because it's our life here. We are here full time, and before we would be there from 6 in the morning till 8 in the evening. So we wanted to create like a nice atmosphere also for people that were diving with us. So it's the whole experience, you know,
Yeah.
not just the underwater part.
No, I definitely think you've accomplished that. I think when my first time there, I went diving with you guys after Becca got certified. I think she kind of had to drag me out of there. I was drinking, having a few beers with the other guests.
Yeah.
Just basically what you're saying. We came back and we just started hanging out, and I think I left for a little bit and they came back just because it was very welcoming. So no, definitely
That's
it's
good
an
to hear.
awesome
Yeah, it's
environment
good.
that you've created. So you are an SSI shop.
Correct.
What classes do you offer at Jepun Divers?
So we offer everything from Scuba Ranger, which is for kids from 8 till 10. It's like a very little program where they get to dive a few meters and experience what it's like scuba diving. It's not a full, it's like a intro, but for kids.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And then all the way up, open water, advanced adventurer, rescue, specialties, and then up till dive master.
Awesome. So I am a diver. I am coming to Jepun Divers, and now I am in Amed. Tell me a little bit about the diving in Amed. What can we see? What can I experience? I know there's one of the most famous shipwrecks in the world that's
Yes.
around here. So tell me a little bit about what I would see as a diver coming to
You can
Amed.
see everything here. That's why we decided to stay here, because it's amazing. So the whole coastline is just dive site after dive site, and there's all types of diving here. So we have muck diving, wreck diving, like you say, the world famous Liberty wreck. We have walls, artificial reef, natural reef, you name it, everything is here. We feel like it's just outside our door.
Lots of dive sites with no current, lots of dive site with some current.
Yeah.
So we have nice shallow reefs. We also have nice deep reefs. So
Yeah.
it's for the tech divers, it's very easy to go deeper. For the beginners, it's very easy to stay nice and shallow.
Yeah. There's something for everyone.
Yeah, it
for
is.
photographers, first-time divers.
Yeah.
It's good for all levels, which
Yeah,
is amazing.
yeah.
So that's something we really see when people come here and they try diving for the first time. We ask if they want to do a wreck. They're like, what? We can do a wreck for our first dive? It's like, yes, you can. Because it starts at 5 meters and then it's down to about 30. So it's good for all levels, really.
Awesome. Once I arrive in Bali, how would I get to Jepun Divers?
We are on the northeast coast of Bali. So we are about 3 hours drive from the airport. And it's easy to get around here in Bali. There's always a driver, private car to find. So from the airport, you can get a private taxi,
Okay.
and get straight up to Amed. This is actually the easiest way to get around for like longer distances. It's private taxis.
Okay.
And then once you are here, it's nice to have a scooter.
Yeah.
You know,
It is.
you know that yourself, because it's spread out over quite a long coastline. So if people often they come here and then they booked a place and they see, oh, it's only a few kilometers away, and then they realize, oh, it's not so easy to just walk around here in the baking sun, and it takes longer than you expect.
So today we are recording at the Gria, and thank you very much.
Of course.
Shout out to the Gria.
Yes.
So
amazing
Shout out.
place.
yeah, me and Becca actually stayed here the month ago when we were here.
Yes.
And we quickly realized that, like, oh, it's only, on paper or on digital on our phones, like, oh, it's only about, however many kilometers away.
Yeah.
And then when we got here, we're like, man, we're kind of like out here. But this place is absolutely beautiful. So I highly, highly recommend anybody coming to Amed to stay at the Gria. And I will leave a link somewhere on the website. And then
Yeah.
also I'll leave a link
Yeah,
for you
nice.
guys, the Jepun Divers. But another question I would like to ask. So you two are a growing family. So I
Yes,
just
we
wanted
are.
to
Yes.
hear about that a little bit. Because there's one that is walking or running around. I think I saw Serge chasing.
Yeah.
One-
Soon too.
One is running and one is walking now.
Yep.
Oh, awesome.
Yep.
So we have a 2-year-old daughter. So she's 2 years and 2-year-old in a month, and we have a 1-year-old and a few days.
Oh.
Two little girls.
2 little girls, yeah.
Okay.
They're
Very close in age.
13 months apart. We took the pandemic as a opportunity to
It was not really planned. We knew we wanted to start a family at some
we were
point.
trying for the last year.
And then, we were not really trying. We were just, when it happens, it
Yeah.
happens. And so it just happened to be a really good timing.
It was great.
So
Yeah.
after all, like, this quiet time was good for something.
Yeah, it was really nice.
It was super nice.
It was the
to-
best
yeah,
time.
I was pregnant basically during the whole pandemic.
Oh,
And therefore, it was very peaceful
yeah.
in Amed
yeah.
for us to be. We had a lot of time to
Yeah.
spend with the kids. It was a nice, easy adjustment when
Yeah.
COVID ended and business restarted. Also, so
Yeah.
it was. I think it was a blessing in disguise.
Yep.
Yeah, now
We have 2 new little scuba divers on
in the
way.
making. Yeah.
We put them in the pool where they were 2 months.
Yeah, 2.5, 3 months. Yeah.
Yeah, we were like, you need to love water.
And indeed they do
Yes,
already.
they love it.
Yeah.
They love it.
So yeah, it's nice.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Well, congratulations.
Thank
So,
you.
Thank you.
how is that being the family and running? Well, yeah, actually, I'll go into that then my next question after. But how is that being a family running a dive shop?
Well, it's a lot harder. There's a lot less time for us to entertain our guests like we used to do. So now what we did is we got a manager
Yeah.
in position in our dive center, which she's amazing. It's
She just started here, like, she arrived a month ago.
Oh, okay.
she's our
So-
old friend, we ex co-worker from PP
Okay.
PP Times.
Yeah.
And she is energetic. She's friendly,
Yeah.
and she has great ideas. Now it's time for us to let go a little bit and let somebody,
Take the reins.
yeah, take the reins.
Yeah.
You know, and
We still love it and want to be
oh,
involved,
of course,
but it's just
and we're
we
still
just
there
need
every day.
some extra hands and an extra person to take care of them all, like all the
Logistics,
daily
Yeah.
planning.
Oh, I'm sure
'Cause
it's.
a lot. It's not just a
With 2 kids, it's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm
so,
sure.
So now we've just put people in position, and we also have other local staff that are
Yeah.
amazing.
We're just
They're-
trying to build this
They're so
good
good,
team
and they're
now.
helping.
Now that it's
And I think it's running quite
Yeah.
well at the moment.
yeah, because the reason we just do it now is like with the pandemic, we had all this time. We were still open, but we barely saw anyone. The borders were closed. Now we saw that it's picking up because it's still, even this season, we were hoping that this season would be kind of back to normal, but it was still hard to say, right? It's hard to say if people are traveling
Yeah.
right away again or how it's gonna look, and it
This is-
seems like
I think there's definitely changes that happen,
yeah,
but things are back.
it's
And,
yeah.
we've had a good low season.
Yeah.
We've had
So we saw the need for
yeah we
a manager now.
we needed to
and
have somebody in place to help us to
run the daily
yes
show.
Cool. Well, that's a big question I had was, because I know obviously we all were affected by the pandemic. Because Bali was closed for a better part of two years. Was it 2 years? It was a while.
The borders were
Yeah,
closed,
I remember I was just waiting. When is that gonna open?
Yeah.
When is it
it,
gonna
it was,
Yeah.
it was a long time. Yeah,
It was, I think it was more than 2 years.
Yeah, because it was
Because
just
they-
last year,
It's
or
not more than 2 years. Was it?
Yes, because they closed, where is it, March?
it was. I want to say it was about 2 years.
And then they reopened in May or something. Oh, I forgot. It's all a big blur.
It was a long time.
It
Yeah.
was a long
That
time.
we'll agree on a long time.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the easiest time for businesses.
For everyone.
But I think we were in a good position where we didn't have lease to pay. We had the land. We bought the land. We had a small team that we were able to keep,
Yeah.
and we downsized some hours because there was not much work.
There was
You know,
nothing
there
to
were-
do really.
We
were
just kept them coming in now and then to
They came
maintain
twice,
the
I think,
area.
twice a week, just to do some cleaning.
Oh, okay.
And we kept them on their salary. So yes, I think most business in the area lost money monthly, but we were fortunate that we just lost a little bit of money monthly. We were able to make it through.
stay-
you
Okay.
know. And it was a good place to be during the pandemic. Bali
Yeah.
was fantastic.
Yeah.
It was very quiet, but it was also very easy living here.
Yeah.
It was
Mhm.
stress-free, I think.
Yeah.
It was
Just not still being able to be outdoors and
yes.
not like locked up in a
We could go to the beach, we could go to the mountain, we can go on a little,
most of the
little
time we
road
could go
trips.
diving. It was
Yeah.
only a very short time where they told us we were not allowed in the water.
Was
Oh,
it
okay.
2
Where they
months?
were really, yeah.
It was at the very beginning. There was 2 months
Yeah.
of this, and then
After
it
this,
eased
we
up.
could.
Yeah.
Well, I am definitely glad that y'all were able to weather the storm.
Yes,
Because
we
I
are
know that,
also-
yeah, it had a big effect on
Many,
the whole
many,
world.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so-
the whole world, yes.
No, that's awesome. And like you said, you had a blessing in disguise, the growing family. That was
Yeah.
probably a really, really good time to be able to do most of the things that needed to be done.
Indeed,
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah. It was the perfect timing.
Yeah.
It was so lucky, yeah.
So where do you see the future of Jepun Divers going?
Well, now I think we're looking at some expansion in the
Yeah.
future. We're looking into building perhaps a 400 square meter 2-story building behind the dive center, which would be a resort sort of a
Like small studio apartments,
Okay.
so they're also family friendly.
Okay, like a
Because-
homestay or
no, not homestay.
Like more like hotel apartments.
Okay,
So
okay.
there also be a kitchen
Oh,
and a
okay.
little living room space, because the idea, like we were actually talking about when we bought the land, there were the 5 bungalows in the back,
okay.
but they've been sitting for so many years, so they were not really in good shape. We took some of them down, and then we were talking back and forth. Is it worth it to invest a lot of money to have accommodation, or is there already enough accommodation in the area? And then
We found that what's missing here is not the homestay, very small units that are very affordable. It's not the
Big
expensive villas that are almost too expensive for, like
to stay here for a few months.
it's the middle, like it's a place where you can actually bring your family, have 1 or 2 kids, have all the facilities you need without too much extravaganza sort of thing, like a 42 square meter
Yeah.
unit,
So small, but
Yeah.
but you have
but enough.
everything.
But
you
it's also like it's for our divers, right? It's,
Yeah.
It's not just to make another hotel
Yeah.
or homestay. It's because we also see now that we are getting more requests for group trips out here.
Okay.
So it would be really nice to be able to offer like a package
Yeah.
deal where you stay at the place and then go diving, and then we see more and more families here, and also because we are now a family, we're just, I don't, maybe we just see it more now, or maybe there are just more family traveling in this area.
Yeah.
And what we hear all the time, of course, is like, do you know a nanny or anything like daycare so we can go diving together?
Ah, okay. Okay.
And then this is really missing here. So
Yes.
that's what we are hoping also to be able to offer. So
Okay.
it's, of course, not only for families. We will make the rooms so they're suited for both couples, singles, or a small family.
Me and Becca will be one of your first
Oh,
guests.
that's
So we're happy to see you.
fair enough.
Yeah, and then offer daycare
Yeah.
while the parents are able to dive together.
Awesome.
Not,
Yes, I have a little daycare facility within the complex. Yeah.
yeah, in the
And-
back so it doesn't disturb all the other guests without kids.
Yeah, so it's nice for everyone. And
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's
Um,
our next
That's the next step.
project.
Cool.
So we were waiting to see how the
Yeah, if it would start.
tourism would bounce back, and then it looks very, very promising at the moment.
Yeah.
Cool. So 2023 is looking good so far.
So
Yes,
far
it
it's
is.
looking good, yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah. very
So,
well.
is there what's the busy season, the down season? Is there because I know you guys here will have a rainy time of year where there's
Mhm.
not so much tourism, or what's a great time to visit?
So
And
there is tourism all year round, but we do have our peak season, which is from July to October, is the peak season. Then which is also our dry, nice, sunny season. Now November, December is also quite nice. still nice and sunny.
Yeah.
January, February, March is the rainy season.
Okay.
Still, you find travelers. Still, there is great diving to be done. It's just a bit more wet.
Yeah.
Usually midday is quite nice, like from 8 in the morning till 1 or 2 p.m. is quite nice and clear sky, and then the rain comes after 2 p.m.
Yeah. But I think it's like the season is
It's changing.
extending.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because in the beginning we saw more like this is the peak season, and then it's really
quiet
downtime, quiet time. But now we also see quite a bit of guests around
Yeah.
Christmas, New Year.
Okay.
It's true, yeah.
Um,
I think 8 years ago when we first got here,
it was also just not so
if you'd ask
busy
if
here
you'd
in
ask
general.
travelers coming out of the airport in Denpasar where are you gonna go, what's your itinerary, Amed was very rarely on the itinerary. Where now, if you ask them, Amed is often mentioned
Awesome.
on most people. So
Yeah.
so we do see more travelers,
Yeah.
not necessarily divers, but yes, a lot of divers.
Then they
But
end up staying maybe, and
divers to become,
Yeah.
you know. Yeah.
Before there was a lot of people coming here because the boats to Gili also are going from
Oh,
here.
okay. Okay.
So then they would maybe they would have one night here before taking the
Yeah.
speedboat to Gili, and then they realize, oh, this is such a nice place, and now we see people actually coming here to stay,
Cool.
to visit Amed.
Mhm.
I really, really enjoy it, and I see Amed a lot in my future.
Yeah,
So
that's good. We're happy about this.
I want to book something through Jepun Divers. How can I get a hold, reach you guys' website, or how do I get a hold of Jepun Divers to book a dive?
We have our website, amedyepundivers.com,
Okay.
and we do actually now it's WhatsApp here is a big thing,
Yes.
so we do get a lot of it's on our website.
Okay.
The number is there. We have an Instagram account. We have Facebook, Google, TripAdvisor, all the booking platforms where you can reach us. So all our contact information is there, but emails and WhatsApp, I would say. That's where we get our online bookings.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you guys for coming on to the podcast. I had
Thank you. It was
a
a pleasure.
great
For having
time.
us.
Hopefully you had a wonderful time too.
Definitely.
And any last parting words?
Come as a
Looking-
stranger,
Leave us a friend.
leave us a friend. Which
I
would
love
be-
it. I love it. Awesome. Well, thank you very much for coming on to the podcast today.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you.
us.
Offgassing, a scuba podcast.